This is Tim Rutili, and you're watching Time to Connect.
Hey, Tim Rutili, man, thank you for taking the time to connect. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Sean. It's good to see you.
Yeah, been looking forward to this talk for a while now. I'm a big fan of your music. Want to talk about that, your filmmaking, whatever else you're into these days. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm in South Pasadena, California, right near LA.
Yeah, right on. You are from Chicago area original, is that right?
Yes.
And have you moved around quite a bit? Have you lived a lot of different places, or?
Chicago and here, pretty much.
Gotcha. Yeah. How's the pandemic been for you? How's this weird 2 years been for your life?
Weird. Pretty weird, but luckily, I don't know. I know a few people that have died, but no one that I've been really close to, and no family. So I guess that's been personally positive, but I don't know, strange.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me for a loop. We were supposed to be, we had a record come out. We were supposed to be playing some shows and doing all kinds of things, and then everything stopped. And then, had to, it took some months to sort of figure out how to be and what to do. What about you? What did you do? Did you have to stop working, and do you work from home?
I'm a retired university professor, and I literally retired right before the pandemic hit.
Good timing.
So the timing was pretty good. I was all set to play a lot of music though, and had a lot of gigs lined up, and of course that all went away. That was, other than the obvious, people dying and a lot of people sick and a lot of paranoia and a lot of weird stuff. The most difficult thing for me was just not being able to play music live, and it's good to be back to that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have some gigs lined up, I'm assuming.
I'm starting to get my feet wet a little bit. So I played last week around here, opening up for my friend's band, and I played, just me and my friend Max played guitar, um, and that was really cool and really fun.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna do some band stuff in August with California.
Right on. Very cool. So what were you like as a kid growing up? I'm real curious about this. I'm curious, when you decided you were going to play music, what kind of a kid you were. Obviously, we don't have too much time to tell the whole biography or anything, but give us a sense of what things were like for you as a kid.
Um, I don't remember ever really feeling comfortable as a kid. Um, I don't. I think I was mostly unpleasant to everyone around me. Just a little creep. I was a little creep. And music helped me really delve into my creepiness. So when I was probably 16, I started playing. Um, I had like a Neil Young songbook and a Bob Dylan songbook and things like that had pictures of chords. So I borrowed a guitar from a friend and sort of started hammering it out. Before that, I played bass in some pretty crappy, like little teenager garage bands. But once I started playing guitar and figuring out some chords, I started writing some pretty terrible songs, as teenagers will do. And I remember just being in the room a lot, experimenting with a lot of drugs back when I was way too young to probably be doing that. And that shaped a lot of the things that I was drawn to, musically and creatively too.
What bands were you listening to in those early days?
Oh
That really
God.
kind of affected you?
I remember like there was Neil Young a lot. There was
Okay.
even Crosby, Stills and Nash. There was like things that were way before my time I was drawn to.
Yeah.
And then there was David Bowie, and then roundabout like Talking Heads and 80s music. And then there was like sort of the American Black Flag SST
Yeah.
kind of punk scene, like Meat Puppets and Dinosaur Jr. and Sonic Youth and all that stuff. And
Mhm.
there was a lot of like I remember finding a lot of indie music. And also when I was a kid, I had a friend who had an older brother, and he had great records like Genesis records and all kinds of things. And he sort of introduced me to the Grateful Dead, and we would go to Grateful Dead shows, and we would, you know, we would sell acid in the parking lot and just take a lot of acid and, and go to shows and dance like maniacs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was all before I was 20, all that stuff. Does that I don't know if that probably makes sense, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember those
Do
days
you have
very
a
well.
similar trajectory?
Yeah. 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 I saw the Dead in 1972 at RFK Stadium with the
Wow,
Allman Brothers. That was I was 16 years old, and that was a profound eye-opening experience for me.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the time. That's the time to see him.
Did you know when you were a kid that you're going to be an artist? Is that something that kind of was always with you in the back of your mind, or was there a time when you kind of said, "Hey, I guess I'm going to be an artist of some sort"?
You know, I didn't think of it as art. So I thought of it as I was going to go to school, and I was into, I was into movies. So I wanted to, like, I wanted to be an editor, like more like a technician, but I didn't think of that as an art until I got to school and started really digging in and learning how and doing it. And then I was like, this is amazing. This is art, you know?
Yeah.
And but I thought I would finish school and get a job at an editing house and like edit commercials or something. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then, I played in some bands, and there was opportunities to go on tour, and then things started happening, and I never really went back to school.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into um, your music, in particular Caliphone, but I'm a big fan. I'll try not to be too much of a fanboy here. But I also want to ask you about your filmmaking. I know you've done a lot of things. Have you done more than, I know the Funeral Singers was that your first full length? I know you've done videos and things like that. Was that your first full length film?
That was the first feature, and that's so far the only feature that got made. I've written some other things, but we haven't found the money to like make them yet.
Gotcha. It seems to me that more people, I'm sure this has always been the case, but it seems to me that more people these days are kind of branching out. Musicians are doing film or writing books or painting, and I know that the some of the musicians I know who have been writing, and I'm actually trying to write a book right now, and it's so different than writing songs, isn't it? I mean, this long form, whether it's writing a film script or writing a book, how challenging was that for you to write that script for Funeral Singers?
I don't know. I wish I would have taken some more time on it, but it all happened fast, and it happened at the same time as writing songs. So one thing fed into another, and that seems to be how it goes, whether I'm painting or writing or trying to put songs together. They all seem to feed each other
Gotcha.
and leak into each other in some way.
Do you make visual art at all? Do you paint or anything like that?
I do, yeah. I got pretty heavy into, like, that's all I could do during the first
Yes.
6 months of the pandemic. I found myself not being able to play music too much, and there's like years where I can't write songs, where it just feels like songs seem dumb.
Mm.
Like songs seem completely pointless, and there are long periods of time when I really can't do it, don't want to, and stay away from it. And then I started again, like in this last summer, I scored a film, and after that I started writing, and now, there's going to be a record or two pretty soon. It's like it sort of, I got into it and I'm still into it.
Do you go through lack of creativity spells in general, or just you just channel your creativity to something else other than songwriting?
Usually it's an interest in something else. Like
Yeah.
it feels like, you know, being drawn to something visual, finding scraps of paper, you
Yeah.
know, or looking at a picture, or being stuck on an image, um, or even like, you know, getting attached to a character or a story. You know, that all can work for songs too, but it's sometimes songs don't make sense. And songs are harder than those other things for me too.
Help me understand what you mean that by songs don't make sense.
They don't fucking make sense. They're like, they're just fucking all encompassing puzzles that you walk around with, and they hurt sometimes, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
they like hurt your fucking feelings, and they just like are annoying. And then you get into the minutia of something that no one else will ever notice, and
Uh-huh.
it's a trap. It's a trap. So sometimes it's really good to um, embrace the all-encompassing puzzle of a song, and because I wake up with them and go to sleep with them when I'm doing it. So I guess that's why I'll take a couple of years off. You know, like after this, maybe I'm not going to write songs anymore, and that's okay. You
Well,
know,
do you go back and listen to old stuff at all? And um, do you ever say, shit, I wish I wouldn't have put that out? Or damn it, that actually was pretty good. You
um,
ever have those kind of,
I try not to go back really, but unless I have to learn how to play or want to or remember something and go, we should learn how to play that for a show.
yeah,
And then a lot of times it's like, yeah, this could have been better this way, or wow, the way we're playing it now, I wish we could just catch that. I wish we would have, you know,
yeah.
but if the bones of a song are there, it works anyway. You know, it works like with a just on a piano, or it works, you know, with a band.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to share something with you. I'm in Texas, by the way, and I reached out to my friend Will Johnson, who I believe you know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Will's great. I'm a big fan of his art and his music and him as a person.
yeah, me too. In fact, I'm trying to shepherd a book right now about Will, and I'm getting other people to contribute essays. I've got essays from people like Patterson Hood and Jason Isbell and Jim James and a bunch of other folks writing just short pieces on Will, and I'm putting it all together as a book project, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's really painful, kind of a painful, slow process because I'm herding cats. And you know, when I got the idea, I thought, well, this will be easy. I'll let other people do all the writing, and I'll just do the editing and the front and back matter. And yeah, yeah, it's a lot more difficult than I thought. But he's one of my absolute favorite people in the world, and a dear friend. And I told him I was going to be talking to you tonight, and he said, just tell him, if you will, that he remains one of my all-time favorite writers and musicians, Crystal Palace Life Hall of Fame level existence for many years now.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious how, you know, looking kind of back at your musical past, Red Meat, and maybe even earlier in that, how the Caliphone sound came about. One of the things that you do that I really admire is there's absolutely no question when a Caliphone song comes on that's you. You have found kind of a unique sound, and I'm just curious, did you kind of envision something there, or just organically happen through the years? What kind of give us an idea of how that, just how Caliphone came about, how that sound came about? Is that
I
a
don't
fair question?
know. I don't know. Um, we had the last Red Meat record is called "There's a Star Above the Manger Tonight," and you know, Brian Deck, who was our drummer and and produced a lot of the music and engineered a lot of the music, you know, we started working with a computer back then. That was 96 or 97 or something. So there was a computer all of a sudden. And then there was a sampler, like an old Kurzweil. I guess it's old now, but then it was new. It was a Kurzweil sampler. And then there was, you know, just discovering these technological things, and then also discovering, I think around that time, that Harry Smithsonian box set folkways
Mhm.
crazy thing came out. So that was like, that was insane and busted everybody's brain open. And then there was, you know, listening to like Can and listening to old, like, you know, krautrock German bands from the 60s and 70s. And then there was like, there was all kinds of new things coming into our heads when we were making that last Red Red Meat record. And that record I haven't listened to in a long time, but I think it's probably still fucking crazy sounding. And then after that, we did a record with our friends in a band called Rex, called Loftus. And, you know, we were working a lot. Benny, our drummer, percussion guy, his family had a truck stop on the south side of Chicago, like that washed out meat trucks. So we were working, you know, 3 out of 4 of us were working on trucks all day. Like we were covered in blood, like hosing out meat trucks. And then in weighing trucks, there was a scale. And then we had a room in the building that Benny's dad used to do a radio show out of that room. So we just camped out in there and started recording things and doing all kinds of things. And then when the bell would ring, we would go clean out a truck. So those two records and the first California record all came within like a year, and they all sort of fed into the same thing. But it was like getting away from being a rock band and getting more into like the depths of like the depths and the textures of ancient, like old ass folk music, and then getting into the, you know, mistakes that we can make with technology, because a lot of our shit is just mistakes that might sound like they work sometimes, and all that sort of fed into Calphone, which also there was like, you know, I'm fucking delusional sometimes. So I'm like, this is like a Paul Williams song. And then it's not a Paul Williams song at all. It's something very weird that has nothing to do with being close to you or, you know, whatever other Paul Williams songs there are.
Yeah. It is hard to be objective about your own stuff. How do you have any particular ways of staying objective? How do you have those moments where you go, I just don't know if this is good or not, you know?
Everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes if you can feel it, you
Mm-hmm.
can just go, okay, I can feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go with that and not worry about it.
Do you remember any particular songs that when you finished it, you said, okay, that one's good, and I know that one's good?
You know, there's a couple that'll come out on the next record
Okay.
where I really just dug I dug hard into them and really made sure that they work loud or quiet or whatever way.
Mm.
They're pliable enough and solid enough songs that I think they work any way you cut them. And then there's, you know, I worked really hard on those and I think they're good, but then there's a couple, like 1 or 2 that came as like no-brainer afterthoughts that are probably better than the ones that I worked really hard on. So I don't know.
How about Movie Music Kills the Kiss? Do I have that title right on Stitches?
Yeah,
Do you remember that song when you wrote that, how that felt?
that one felt pretty good, and I thought it was a good song.
Yeah, I will definitely confirm that. One of my favorites of yours. Uh, what who are some of your people you're listening to now? Or anybody these days that you, in particular, that you listen to or that you like?
Oh God. You know, I'm going through like a Dionne Warwick singing Burt Bacharach songs
Wow,
phase, and that shit's making me cry like an idiot because
man,
it's so fucking good.
they're so
Um,
good.
oh
Yeah,
my God.
I heard
And
Bill Frisell talking about that recently, and I'm kind of a big Bill Frisell fan, and he was talking about when he was a kid, he, you know, like the Burt Bacharach songs, it just wasn't cool to like that stuff, right? But as he got older and kind of rediscovered it and started learning to play some of those melodies on guitar, he's just like, fuck, man, these are great songs. Yeah.
yeah, and really like complicated and really and strange and
Mhm.
like really odd and beautiful and
Yeah.
inviting stuff.
Yeah. Really
Yeah.
fascinating changes in some of those songs. So one topic I bring up with all my guests is Bob Dylan, just because I'm a little bit obsessed with him, and I think he's endlessly fascinating and maddening sometimes, and but just such a huge character in our lives. How do you think of Dylan? Was he influential on you, and how do you think of him these days?
Um, well, you know, I love Bob Dylan's one of the best um ever. So I haven't really listened to Bob Dylan for a while, but I know that I always go back to like that stretch of like Highway 61 and Blonde on Blonde and Bringing It All Back Home. You know, like all those like sort of, you know, you've got the picture there where he's playing the bass behind your head.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
and
that's the period, you know, like
then
that's
here
the
too.
period. And uh and there's, I don't know. Yeah, he's the best. I mean, he might be better than the Beatles and the Stones,
Yeah.
maybe.
If he,
But I it sometimes it feels like that to me.
Tim, if he showed up at your door right now and said, "Hey, man, I've heard about you. Will you play me one of your songs? What song would you play for Bob?"
Oh God, you know, I'm not good at selling, and if there's a situation where I have to try to impress someone, usually I go the other way.
Hmm.
But I'd probably offer him a drink, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But I can't think of like, Bob, you should listen to this song that I made. I don't think I would ever do that to anybody.
yeah.
Um, but I probably would geek out about stuff that he did, and then he probably wouldn't like that, and then he wouldn't like me, and then he would leave. I heard a story about Bob Dylan, like someone that it's I can't even remember where I got this, but someone was in around here, like in Malibu, like at a party. Bob Dylan showed up, and he got so worked up that he threw up on Bob Dylan. Like or it might be the other way around. I don't know. Bob Dylan might have went, yeah, and just like barfed on somebody at a party. So
Wow,
yeah, don't
that's
know.
an interesting image for sure. Well, let's see. You much of a reader? Do you read a lot?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Any particular books that you think of that have been influential on you, or that, you know, if you had to take a couple of books to a deserted island kind of thing?
Uh, I don't know about Deserted Island books, but right now I'm reading like an airport book, which is the Tommy James and the Shondells sort of memoir autobiography thing. And that's really fun. It's kind
Okay.
of dumb, but it's pretty fun. And I love that music.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and another music book I read was called The Big Midweek. And
What was it?
it's called The Big Midweek
Okay.
by the old bass player in the Fall. So it's about like his experience playing in the Fall, and it was almost like being in a unpleasant cult, but an unpleasant cult that was one of the best bands ever.
That's interesting. What pisses you off?
What doesn't piss me off? Rainbows, the beach. I don't know. No, the beach can piss me off. And rainbows are fucking annoying too sometimes. I don't know. I mean, this world is really, 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 really horrifying right now.
Yeah.
And maybe it's always been really horrifying. If we look at the way humans treat each other, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. I think they just have more means of communication and more ways to. I think one difference, I'm going to see if you agree with this, Tim. One difference, people talk about how divided the country is. Well, man, I was there in the 60s. It was incredibly divided then. And we've been through all kinds of really crazy things. But it seems to me that one difference now is that most people didn't have a clue, but they knew they didn't have a clue. Now, so many people think they know because, they can find it on the internet or wherever. So there's a different vibe in people who almost like a smugness about, oh, now they know something, but they don't. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just try to I really like, I don't know. I don't, I like, I don't care about most people's opinions.
Mhm.
So there seems to be a lot more venues for people to spout opinions about things, and usually overconfidence is repugnant to me.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, and maybe that's my problem because I've never really felt particularly like a confident person.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't give a shit what most people think. So I don't put myself in a position, I try not to put myself in a position to receive a lot of other people's bile.
Yeah.
I like mostly being left alone, and there are times, especially with the phone, that I'm stuck looking at, I get caught in the cycle of looking at the phone for hours, and it usually doesn't make me feel good. So now I try not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any methods of dealing with the kind of shit that we all have to deal with? Meditation, or do you just kind of dive into some creative project, or when things are really starting to weigh down on you, what kind of methods do you have for dealing with that?
Are you asking for help? Do you need help? Are you are you okay,
Yeah,
man?
man, I'm just trying to get to know you a little bit. I
Are
think
you
these are, I just think I'm curious. I'm just curious about how other people deal with these things.
uh there's been times when I've been better with a practice of meditation and exercise. Now I'm not doing so good at it. Um, but it helps to I think that's why I make things, is because there's something that happens where your brain turns off when you get into a zone, painting especially,
Yeah.
making visual art, where logic and thought stops, or it seems to stop, and then you're making these instinctual decisions, and that feels good. And that's older than people that uh no mind, automatic
Yeah.
automatic go. And I mean, like you watch a basketball game, and it looks like they're doing stuff so fast that they're making these decisions from their gut that are beautiful. It seems like that's what, when we make things, that's the process of making things out. That's what we strive to do, and that's a way to cope with the massive noise of the world.
Yeah. And making music can be very similar too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, this might be a little bit of a weird question, but I'm also curious about how they think about what happens when we die. Is there an afterlife? Have you spent much time thinking about this? I mean, your film certainly has some interesting ideas with respect to afterlife. Is this something you think about? Do you have any concept of maybe what happens when you die?
Well, it's impossible to know,
Mhm.
but I love thinking about it. You know, who knows? Uh, I think when you die, your soul flies into another body. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. I don't know.
Mhm. Are you
But it's
okay with
fun to,
not knowing?
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if death is just the end too. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay if it's like now we're dirt, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tim, thank you for taking some time to talk to me. I really appreciate it. And I'm a big fan of your work. I'm looking forward to the new stuff that you're talking about. And I hope to catch you at a show sometime. And again, thank you very much for taking this time to connect.